Let young people find their own way in life, says Jesus Priest Rob Halford. A link to the article will be in the description down below. But here's my takeaways from that article. Now I'm only going to be focusing on certain parts of the article. So if you want to see the article in full, check the link down below. But without further ado, let's get into this. So back in the mid-80s, an organisation called the PMRC, which stands for Parent Music Resource Centre, made a list called the 15, and it featured songs that referenced violence, sex, drugs, alcohol, or the occult. And they wanted lyrics to be available on the front of album covers. And among the songs that's listed were performed by the likes of Judas Priest, Wasp, Merciful Fate, Twisted Sister, just to name a few. But like I said, type in PMRC on YouTube and you'll find actual footage long enough where you can watch this whole thing unfold. Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. I just wanted to share a brief quote about individualism briefly. The individualist is a man who says, "I will not run anyone's life nor let anyone run mine. I will not rule nor be ruled. I will not be a master nor a slave. I will not sacrifice myself to anyone nor sacrifice anyone to myself." That quote was by Anne Ryan. And the purpose of me sharing with you that quote is that we all love heavy metal. But that being said, we're not all gonna like the same albums, songs, or bands. So with that being said, please be respectful in the comments down below. I'm all for freedom of speech, but one thing I will not tolerate is abusive language. Now on with the video. Deeper into the article itself, the Judas Priest frontman said that you've got to let young people be who they are. You've got to let young people find their own way in life. Most young people are beautiful, kind, living their lives and trying to get ahead. Now with that being said, the reason I agree with this is because throughout my teenage life in particular, and to a certain degree in my early 20s, people were all trying to stray me in one direction to another, until I got to a point where I just wanted to do things on my own terms. And I think it's safe to say I'm getting towards a point in life where I can actually live life on my own terms. I'm not quite there yet, but I am working towards that. With that being said, when you're a teenager, you don't have a full grasp of, or full understanding of how life really is. It's only as you get older you start to realize, this is what's really going on. When you're teenagers and even younger, you don't have a clue. You're too busy having fun. You think the world is one way, but then you get older and then you realize it's completely different. Alright, one example of this is my relationship with heavy metal. I've been listening to heavy metal for 20 years, but back in my teenage years, there was even a point where I would only exclusively listen to subgenres such as black metal, death metal, thrash metal, and grindcore. I think that was pretty much my late teenage years summed up. But then I got a bit older, I started to expand my range of preferences of metal subgenres. I started to do metal a bit more as I got into my late 20s and so on. And then I took it even further by listening to other forms of music as well as metal. I think now I know this is definitely a thing, like metal fans listening to other music outside of metal, and I'm all for it, because why just stick to one thing when there's so much out there? But getting back to the article, Rob Halford goes on to say that as you get older, you get wiser, don't you? And you figure out what's important and what's not important. And why do you think it's unfair, particularly for younger people, is that younger people are so inexperienced to a great extent, and how to deal with their feelings and how to deal with be bullied in the sense of social media can be very damaging. Now, unfortunately, bullying is a part of life, but it doesn't mean it cannot be tackled. Now, I'm all for instilling discipline, I'm all for establishing resilience, but there's a way to do it. And I don't think bullying somebody over something they can't help, or based upon how they dress or whatever music they they happen to listen to, is the way to go about it. I'm all for people doing what they want to do as long as they don't harm themselves or anybody else. Life would be very boring if we were just all the same. And the diversity of life is what makes life beautiful. That's just what I believe. I think to us older lot who aren't our teenagers anymore, I think we have that responsibility of setting an example, for a positive example for teenagers to follow. Now, whether they follow that example, that's out of our hands, but we can set a good example nonetheless. And to close out the article, Rob finishes off by saying, "We want to give you a good time. We want to help you forget about all the troubles and worries in the world. We want you to come and enjoy yourself, have a few drinks, meet your mates, have a great metal experience / rock and roll experience. The kind of noise that we make is the best noise you can get, plain and simple." I have that last two quotes of the article. Again, if you want to read the article in full, link in the description is down below. But getting back to that, that's why and why most of you listen to heavy metal. That's the aim of this channel, for it to be an escape in the form of telling you about heavy metal bands, some bands that you're probably familiar with, as well as some bands you're probably not so familiar with. And I'm all for creating an escape because for those that have been around long enough and experienced a good chunk of life, you probably came to the conclusion that life is not easy. And to balance things out, you do need to do something that isn't school, that isn't work, something that helps you relax. Like for me, now when I listen to music whilst I'm working on YouTube videos, that for me is relaxing. The only other relaxing activities I can think of is sleeping and just alone time, and that's about it. Let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.